Officially Finner with your hosts, Robin and Rudy, a podcast about family where we live, love, and laugh along the way.
Welcome to Officially Finner. We're glad that you're with us today, whether you're listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube. I'm here with my co-host, my husband, Rudy, and today we have a bit of a different kind of episode. We've always been pretty transparent about things we're doing.
No need to stop now.
And right now we're dealing with a new issue. Actually, it's a health issue that we're dealing with now and probably will be dealing with for some time. So we thought we'd share it with you because we feel that there are lessons to be learned.
Oh my!
Things we can share.
It's a school.
No, we're not doctors or medical professionals, as he's always said.
I'm glad you said that. That's very important.
But
very important you put that out there.
Yeah, but there are things in life that you go through. And if you do talk to other people and you do share information, we think that it can be helpful.
Absolutely.
For other people who may be going through similar kinds of things.
Yeah.
So if you remember, when we started this podcast, we started with a fitness focus.
Fitness roadmap.
It was called Fitness Roadmap. We said life is coming, and we talked about why it's important to know your why when you began a fitness program.
Yes.
You're being prepared and assessing where you are. We talked about cardio training. Mm-hmm. We talked about weight training. We talked about supplements. We talked about a lot of stuff. My goodness. We had a fitness hero segment that we started. We featured Rashida Green on that one.
Yep.
And that was a lot of fun.
Lots of fitness heroes.
Yes, exactly. We talked about fitness fails, things that don't work so well.
Stuff that didn't work.
And one of the things that was a recurring theme is that be ready because life is coming at you.
That's right.
And life has certainly come at us.
Not an option.
It's come at us. And today we're going to reconnect with the fitness roadmap, if you will, by walking you through how life came at us. It's an appropriate
place to connect.
Yes. So now I'm going to toss it to Rudy because this is very much, it's a lot of it's his story, but it's really our story because we're in everything together. Yeah. But I do want him to start by telling you kind of what he's been working with, dealing with.
So it's just like as you were tossing that to me, I'm just like, it's so like God to just make sure that everybody stays in sync and understands this is my show. I decide how this all works. And it's just so ironic. I told a story once about how I've known of people who our perception, people around me, was that they were abusive to their bodies, either through alcohol or through drugs. And there's always been a story where somebody made it through all of those things and actually outlived all of the people that were doing all of the things that were right. And it's always fascinated me. And I've always said, I feel like that's God's way of saying, no, I'm always in control of this. What you see are good things. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. And he's not suggesting that we shouldn't do those things. But ultimately, I think the Bible says the ultimate keeper, my keeper, the ultimate my faith. What is it? Oh shucks, there's a slogan in the Bible, not a slogan in the Bible, but I paraphrase it frequently. My ultimate, all things about me, I'm trying to say, are ultimately determined and judged by God, and that is truly a sense, and that was confirmed in this, and that's a long roundabout way of saying I'm the one that's the fitness guy. Stay in shape. You got to do this. You got to do that. But I'm the one that's had the first major health issue. Let me just walk you through what happened. So we've been fans of physicals since we were maybe 40.
Oh, at least, yeah.
When we were maybe
yearly,
40 years old, we started
physicals.
doing our annual physical. And every year it's the same thing. Annual physicals, annual dental, annual eye. We are medical customers year round. Going for a standard physical, I had felt a place under my jaw that felt a little abnormal. You know how you have, I say but many of you all are like me. You're very in touch with yourself, with your body and different things. And it was a little, it felt like a lymph node. When you have colds, when you have infections, you'll feel a lymph node swell and then you'll feel it go back down. And that's pretty much the end of it. That happens. It's been happening for years. I had a node that puffed up. It didn't go down. And I mentioned it to my doctor. And my doctor immediately, she's just the coolest doc. I have the coolest doctors and medical folks around me. She had a look on her face that I just said, ooh, haven't seen that look. And so I kind of recognized right out of the gate that she had a concern. short version of the story is I ended up, that was like the end of March, about the last day of March. Within like 7 days, they had me in to have a biopsy. And I'll never forget this as long as I live, because it was amazing. The person that did the biopsy, I was talking. What a shock. I think I was talking a lot. What another shock. And I think he looked at me and said, no, it's cancer. And I think I almost turned around and said, who is he talking to? Because I was sure you can't be talking to me. You can't. I'm not. And it was, I think, what any person goes through at that moment, because you're trying to digest, wait a minute, what just happened? And now. I
think your exact words were, well, that's not what I was expecting.
Oh, really? I said that?
That's what you said. Yeah, I was sitting right there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so immediately, I think any person, and I think it was good because I qualified as a person truly on this, you become human. No matter what your morals are, your beliefs are, your faiths are, you become human. And for a moment, you're kind of overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I was kind of overwhelmed with it. But it was just like the weirdest, and this is not, I'm trying not to, I'm going to try to talk about this, and I have to interject my faith in this because that's who I am. Otherwise, I'd be lying to you and misleading you. But it was just like, it was almost like I said that, and right after that, it was almost like God just said, shh, listen. I need you to listen. Pay attention. And we got in the car, and I remember I made a note to myself. I don't think I was driving, so don't say I was using my phone while I was driving. It was a rainy day. I remember the rain, and I remember making a note, and the note that I made was, God, what do you want to get out of this? How are you glorified in this? And I didn't have any thought. I didn't go to any dark places. I just immediately wanted to know from God what you wanted from me. And it was weird. It was a peace in it. It wasn't like a panic. I didn't immediately go to this, I'm going to die. I didn't do that. That just didn't, and I can't really explain it to you. And I think our next obstacle was talking to the girls, because we didn't want to delay in them finding out. We wanted them to know, and we wanted them to know as quickly as possible. And that was a fascinating scramble. And it's kind of like, I think the funniest thing with me was I realized that we could text message and FaceTime. Mm-hmm. And we had all those tools because I was trying to create a meeting, and people were in all these places and all these locations, and it's kind of like, just FaceTime.
Well, it's really interesting because our communication with them is kind of like that TV show Brothers and Sisters. If you make one call, somebody's going to call the next person, person, and they'll text and they'll have a conversation before you can even get out what you're trying to say. So we wanted to tell them all together, but to call someone all together makes them say, well, what is it? Well, I can't wait until the end of the day.
Oh, my gosh, that's right. It turned into just this insane Q&A on what the Q&A was.
Yeah,
and it just, so the bottom line was I had my daughters on a FaceTime call.
Right.
And I had a chance to say the same thing to them because I wanted one message. I didn't want to say, because it's hard to remember what you say to one person. So it was great. It just so happened that I got everybody on a FaceTime call and in the parking lot at my job before I went in, because we went back, I think I took you, how about you home?
Yeah.
And I think
you went back to work. Yeah, you went to work.
And I went back to work. Mm-hmm. Again, everything is just weird with this. This isn't normally the thing that you just go back to work with. I didn't even think about how weird that in itself is. That was weird.
Well, I think it's kind of a shock in a way. Because it was really shocking. I think about when Dr. Smarth called and she asked me, had you set the ultrasound she asked you to set up? Because she wanted to just check, well, I have ultrasounds on my thyroid just because I've got a nodes there that they're just watched. But it's been like that for years and they've been fine. I'm good. Right. But when she called to ask that sounded to me like, okay, I don't think he communicated the urgency. But yes, I'd set it up. And so, but I heard the urgency in her voice, and she's like, well, yeah, make sure he goes and tell him to, get that done ASAP.
And so I think the first part in that is that your team, right?
Right.
Because I think I displayed a calm and my mind was in a calm place, but you almost subliminally understood the urgency. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important because we all know, and we've had family members who feel things and know things and don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's very important because once I told you, there was no getting off of that boat. Mm-hmm. There's no way that ultrasound wasn't going to happen. That was going to happen.
Right.
And that's important because we're not always together. Right? I go in the office. I don't tell you. I go to my office and enough things happen. It could be 2 weeks before I remember to tell you.
Right.
Truth be told, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we come in. We live with a 8-month-old baby who's the greatest entertainer and all. I mean, this dude is like Michael Jackson, Sammy Davis Jr., and Justin Bieber all rolled into one. He's the most entertaining cat we know, and he can make you lose hours, lose days.
Yeah, he can.
And so Robin getting on the bus and getting that going was very important. And we did all of those things. And I mean, sidebar, we had a couple of people that we won't mention any names because that's not what we're here to do. But there was a couple of technicians that were just awful. The technicians with the biopsy were just amazing people. That whole office was amazing. The way that they treated you from the moment you walked into the office to the people that actually did the test, that gave you the information from the test, they were just some of the most gentle, kindest, most honest, non-emotional, but emotional enough at the same time souls I'd ever seen. Mm-hmm. The biopsy people the first time.
Well, actually, what happened the first time was you had an ultrasound.
The ultrasound. I'm sorry.
Ultrasound the first time.
I'm sorry. I'm saying
and they were just kind of, well, there's some stuff back there. We don't know what it is.
Oh my gosh! I felt like I was with.
It was awful.
I'm not going to insult 7-year-olds by saying I felt like I was with a classroom of 7 years. It was just terrible. And we had a feeling that I don't know if we communicated it perfectly, but immediately the doctor, when you even talked about, I don't know what you said that made her say, I need you to go over here instead.
Well, let me just tell you what happened because
Please,
you're just la la land. Oh, well, I really have cancer. Let me just go back to work and figure this out. No, okay, so I'll have to say our general practitioner, Dr. Smarth, she quarterbacked this whole thing. She really did. She was wonderful. And so she said to me, said, okay, I'm looking at this and I'm concerned. I want you to go see an ENT. There was a ENT in our area that she called who was well known out here. And when she talked to him, he said, well, I'm actually going to send him. The best person for him to see is this other guy, Dr. Joshi, who's based at George Washington University Hospital in D.C. So when she talked to them, she said, I'm going to go ahead and set up some tests ahead of time. So by the time you get your appointment with Dr. Joshi, you'll have some information that he can look at and he'll kind of know where things stand. So when she talked to the guy here, he said, send them to the second radiology office, not the first one where we originally went for the ultrasound. And they did everything all over again, an ultrasound and a biopsy. And that's when we found out, as they said, there are a few cancer cells here. So you're thinking, okay, some cancer cells, you can probably get those removed in some localized area. But as it turned out, it was a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But that's how we got introduced to Dr. Joshi.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how this moved.
That is my dude.
And
Dr. Joshi's my guy.
It moved very quickly.
Yeah.
So
like a rocket.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a rocket. So I think the thing I need to talk about is this. So what we found there were cancer cells. What we did was you taking over. So for a lot of men listening and a lot of women listening, you already know this. So I'm just restating the obvious and confirming what you already knew. God talks about this helpmate. And I've heard pastors before talk about what idiots we are because we don't understand the value of a helpmate and respecting a helpmate. It's something about this process that I understood from the beginning. Get out of the way. Don't read anything. Just focus on listening to what's next and what is your role to get ready for the what's next. And I had people immediately, my brothers, and this is the thing, we love all our brothers and sisters and everybody around us, but as soon as you tell somebody, they got a story for you. They got input for you. And I'm just going to tell you, be slow to spread it. If you have anything like this, any health issue at all, be slow to tell friends because friends are generally going to reminisce and take you down the road of everybody that they've ever known that died from whatever you just said. If it's a heart issue, blood pressure issue, diabetes, they're going to tell you about who lost a foot. They're going to tell you, it's a weird thing. And I think what it is, I realize this, it's a nervousness.
Sometimes not knowing what to say.
I'm so freaked out by what you told me, and I care about you so much. I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And I just say stuff. The first reaction that I have is a reference point that I have, and most of our references, unfortunately, are dark. And I remember saying to Robin when this all came up, I said, I don't mean to throw you in a shock, but the world is full of cancer survivors. There's a lot of people who've survived cancer. There's a lot of people that when you're looking at bio, the 9th, 10th thing that you see is cancer survivor. That's not unusual. So that's kind of where my mind went. And these guys accuse me at times, my brothers and sisters, and Robin is cautious of me, that I'm optimistic to a fault. I am horribly optimistic. I'm unable to process pessimism. It just doesn't in me. I don't run like that. And so that's where I went. She got involved in the medical terms, words, people. Every name that's called, Robin could probably give you a detailed bio on what that person has done, their accomplishments, what they failed at, maybe where they live, because she just goes way into this. But that's a helpmate.
Way too much credit.
But let me say this. That's what a helpmate does, because she already knows I'm not doing it. So what I'm trying to do is find out, okay, so what does this mean? What does all this mean? What I did, we met with Dr. Joshi, a VTC, then in person. So God has always dealt with me in athletic terms. My whole world runs like sports. Everything runs like sports. And honest to goodness, talking to Joshi was like a coach calling a play. He said, here's what's going on. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we think might have to happen after that. He said, we're going to go in. We're going to do surgery. We're going to remove the salivary gland, was where it was. We're going to remove the gland, any affected nodes, and there's probably going to be some radiation treatment after. Mm-hmm. Ready, break. And I immediately said, okay, what's my role? Now, as I was thinking about my role, I want to toss this to Robin, because understand, this is like the 31st of May, we get the physical. The 7th, we get the biopsy. I'm sorry. The 31st of March is the physical.
Right.
The 7th of April is the biopsy.
Mm-hmm.
My children are told on the 7th of April, my daughters and Robin sweep in on about the 12th, because the 10th was Palm Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in between there, you guys sweep in. Now, I'm going to ask you, because I don't know, because I had allowed myself to become follower and not leader. Mm-hmm. How did this nutrition thing start? What happened?
You know what? I have to give that credit to Courtney, our oldest daughter.
Huh.
Because Courtney was thinking about nutrition. She's always been interested in food anyway. But she was talking about, food and veggies have a lot of cancer-fighting ingredients and nutrition in them. But it's always been difficult for you to digest like fresh fruits and vegetables. Yes. So that's been a little bit of a tricky thing to get, into your system, consistently. So you can't consume everything. So we had to try to figure out another way to try to get those nutrients in. Yeah. So she came up with a whole game plan that she had researched about cancer-fighting foods and ways to make them, to prepare them in a way that you could digest them. And you would eat them and you would enjoy them enough, because if you don't like what you're eating, you're not really going to eat it. So I mean the volume. So she sent me and I'll tell you what, if anybody is interested, you can send us a note. We'll send it to you. We're not going to just flood the internet with this stuff. She sent me an exhaustive PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, it was a very, very entertaining in a way.
Gosh. Yeah.
And we threw it up on the TV. She cast it on the TV. And we all sat around and understood. And she's a teacher, so she does this very well in terms of presentations.
Honest to goodness, it's so sports-like. Yeah. It's like a coach, on a film day.
Yeah,
who has a film process that he's taking you through.
Exactly.
And you watch the opposing team on film. Mm-hmm. You watch yourselves on film, and you come up and you determine what we're going to do for this. Right. And it was absolutely astounding.
Right. So she came with the things that were good things to try to take in, and the things that he needed to cut back on that were not so great. So one of the things that we have really been focused on is added sugars, because we didn't understand this, but in reality, sugar, cancer really is attracted to sugar in your body. It fuels sugar. So so added sugars. What we're watching now more than we ever have in our life. Yeah, that's our little dog Chloe.
Yeah.
We're really counting added sugars in all of our foods.
Unbelievable.
And sometimes you can snack during the day, and there's sneaky things. There's sneaky things in sauces and things that you cook with, and you don't really think about added sugar per se. But if you're using enough of it and not really measuring, you could be taking in a lot more sugar than what you really should have. So the maximum that men should have, from what she gathered, and I found for women it's even less, so it's harder for us, is 37 milligrams of added sugars is a maximum per day. And this is something that we researched and found, so you can look that up as well. But 37 grams of that per day is all that that you should have. So we had to make sure we started counting. We started looking to see how many grams of sugar were in different things. We were preparing. We are multiplying. We're dividing, like how many are in a serving. And we have changed so much of our food that we both have lost weight, and his glucose has gone down.
Yeah. So you gotta.
Excuse me.
I want to stop because I want to just jump in. I should say not stop, but I want to jump in because this is really important. I don't understand, and this is one of those things that our pastor at church is doing a series called "How Can I Do That?" I think it's current series,
something like that, yeah,
something like that. And I think you find that even some of the most basic things in life are almost supernatural, because on your own. You got no chance.
Yeah.
You got to understand, excuse me, I'm 64 years old. I've been eating like this since I was maybe 14. I came up with some food quirk when I was 14 and could never eat fresh fruit out of the ground from that point. I can't just eat uncooked vegetables or salad. I can't eat it. I want to. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's something I think that and it's again not a doctor. Don't write this down and don't try this. I thought I one time I was pursuing it and it was pancreas related. There was something blah 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 blah. But all I knew was I kept having physicals and I didn't have any vitamin deficiencies, so I kept going. So you take a weird twist like that and you throw it into, we've got to now get you on anti-cancer, pro-fighting cancer foods, reduced sugar. And I don't eat candy. I don't eat a lot of sweets. But to reduce sugar in your food is dramatic. Just like you said, it's dramatic. And I mean to tell you, here's the big thing. She said to me, the vast majority of your sugar, because of the way you eat, comes from what you're drinking and your supplements, because you do several gummy-related supplements.
Right.
Didn't sound like a lot. It sounded simple, but oh my, it was. When
you add them all up, you find it's a lot more. Like I said, sneaky stuff. You think you're doing something healthy.
Easily doing 300 grams of sugar a day.
And that was horrible. Was it that much?
It had to be.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
If we look at what we're doing now, I'm doing my dessert now is a one fruit smoothie with I don't know how small that little 8-ounce smoothie is that I do.
It's about 9 grams, but that's basically all the sugar you're getting each day.
I now have some sugarless gummies.
Yeah.
And the sugarless gummies are...
But they don't have any added sugar. So what we're counting really is added sugar. So
right. No sugar added.
So your body needs some sugar.
Oh, yeah.
But, you don't want to overdo what you take in naturally, like through fresh fruit, for example, and things like that. But it's, added sugar that you really have to watch out for.
But the thing she said, and I want to put some numbers to this because it isn't. So I went from 170 to I went from 170 to about 158 pounds, and most importantly, my glucose dropped from 128 and my physical on the 31st. When I had my PET scan on the my PET scan,
it was after the surgery. Yeah,
it was like May 12th, something like that. That glucose had dropped down to 86.
That's incredible.
That was absolutely amazing that it had dropped that far. And it was stunning to me.
Right.
Now, the thing that's really most stunning to me was the fact that I'm now at a place where when I've tried to tell people this, The one person that I've talked to really blew me off and didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm amazed. I think I was amazed. I think I went out as a zealot based on what we had learned through my experience. And I started to talk to people, and the way that the one person that I talked to close, one-to-one, eye-to-eye, the way they blew me off, I think I was lost for words.
Yeah.
Because I think this person is a diabetic, hardcore, medically treated diabetic. And I believe this formula will completely change their lives. And that was I was devastated that they weren't more responsive. And I guess shame on me for believing that I should have that kind of influence. And I don't deserve anybody's attention. So I guess I'm not saying that. I guess I felt like I was giving them something that was an incredible life turnaround. And they just kind of like, no thanks. Just like, no.
Sometimes it's hard for people to listen. Wow. And I think sometimes when you have something, so a lot of things can be life-threatening. Diabetes can be life-threatening. But you have something like cancer, and I think that, at least for you and for anybody, I can't imagine not going into this mode where you're doing everything right away to try to fight it. But I think a lot of times people can have other issues, and it can, you always think you've got more time to deal with it. Okay, maybe not today, but I'll cut back next week. I'll cut back. Okay, I'll cut back after my vacation. Yeah. But I think that in your case, one of the things I have to give you credit for was immediately being open to trying new things, because that's not always easy to do, especially if you are concerned about digesting certain types of foods. But you were very open. You were very open to that. I'm going to call it supernatural. I give you a lot of credit for that.
Let me just pause. Cauliflower pizza.
Crust pizza.
I call it cauliflower pizza. I get the right to name it what I want to name it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. If you want to understand the impact of that, look up cauliflower and cancer.
Yeah.
It's very important to understand the benefits of it. And how all of a sudden my pasta, pizza crust, all of these things now have moved over into categories made by or made with cauliflower.
Yeah, we've incorporated a lot more of that into our diet, even cauliflower. Cauliflower is never my favorite food because it was just,
absolutely
I don't know.
Not. I wouldn't pass a room with cauliflower.
I would do broccoli, but I didn't like cauliflower, but whatever. But so what we've done is, and what's been really cool, I think, is that everybody who lives in our household, we've all joined in and started doing the same kinds of things.
Yeah.
Just because, well, that was kind of cool to taste. Oh, we like this. And so we're all doing it together. So he's not just by himself trying to eat differently and trying to eat foods that are going to be healthier.
Which I was willing to do, and I tried to not get everybody on that road, but I think they started getting jealous at my sleek physique as it began to progress.
Actually, it was much easier to cook one type of food as opposed to his food and our food. So, but really though, and getting back to what Courtney was doing, so she came over and she's actually done. So she did a presentation, and chickpeas, beans, all these things that are so good. We have beans in some things, but it's not been something that you have necessarily gravitated towards. But we came up with different ways of trying to make these things and putting things in smoothies that he surprisingly can digest the smoothies. It's great. It's a good thing.
And the chickpea cod wraps?
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. So we have, there's a chickpea flour tortilla, I guess it is.
Oh, my.
And that we get from Whole Foods.
Oh my!
And so we are making like quesadilla wraps and that kind of thing with, the fish,
breakfast,
like for breakfast,
and then the dinner.
Breakfast items. You can add eggs to it. The right kind of cheese and that. So so he's got protein. He's got a chickpea piece, and he's got. We also do them with cod. We'll make cod and we'll flake it and we'll put the right. There are a couple of lines of sauces that we've discovered that they're lower in sugar than your typical brand names that are on store shelves. So we're using those kinds of things to help season. And again, like I said, measuring how much you're using, the right kinds of cheeses can help. Could get a little dirty with that, but you don't want to get. I forgot what it is that Courtney specified with that, but anyway, so we've got this whole list. Here's what I get from Trader Joe's. Here's what I get from Whole Foods. Here's what I get from Wegmans. And we're making those kinds of, and it's really good there. Once you make them, it's a little more time consuming, admittedly, to make a batch. But once you made the batch, you got them for days.
Yep.
So you just dedicate that time, and I feel like what's her name, Ree Drummond, the pioneer woman. They made me cooking in my new kitchen.
Yeah.
But anyway, but that's one of the ways. And one of the things we do, I make a batch of the smoothies that he likes, and we measure out to make sure that
8 ounces,
because there's
cut them off at the bar.
There are things in the smoothies that do have sugar, but by the time you have your individual serving size, you're really not taking in that much sugar.
Right.
So we have healthy things. We've got fruit. We've got yogurt. We've got milk. And we have like a little bit of an icing and a cookie or something like that in there to kind of give it some flavor. Yep. And it's really good. Everybody loves them. So that all works out really well.
And I did want to say this too. Again, like I said with the cauliflower, you want to look up chickpea and cancer and just watch what comes up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because there's cancer fighting components there that just like, well, why didn't we know about this before almost, right? I mean, I'm just kind of like, this is such a pervasive thing. And the water.
Of the water, yes.
Water.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've had, of all beverages that I drink since April the 12th, 98% of what I drink, we're just moving into some V8 juices now that are sugar-free, or low in sugar, I should say. It's been water. Mm-hmm. And that has been amazing because the water, so keep in mind, so now we met with the doctor. And let me just fast forward a little bit. We met with the doctor. A decision was made that we were going to move forward with the surgery to have the cancer removed. We met with the doctor. The decision was made when the surgery was going to occur. The diet and all of those changes, you got to keep in mind, and this is the fascinating part of this. We'd met with no nutritionist. Right. We'd been counseled 0 on food. This was all stuff that the girls did.
Well, they researched it, so it wasn't like they just made it up either.
They didn't make it up. They researched it, presented the science in an incredibly detailed way. I, for some reason, became almost unrealistically compliant. I don't even know why I was so compliant. I never felt like there was nothing that compelled me to absolutely do this or do that, but it just made sense. The diet, the weight loss, the glucose loss, my mild time. So leading up to it, I realized the only thing, all I can control is what I can control. Mm-hmm. So leading up to surgery, the more we learned about the surgery, we learned it was pretty intense surgery. There's no joking around stuff. This is not like having a fingernail taken off. This is pretty big. It's called a radical. The word I see a lot with it. I think
it's a radical neck dissection.
A radical neck dissection is pretty intense. Mm-hmm. Not knowing all of those details and what I now know about it, I decided, what can you control? Mm-hmm. Here's what I can control. I learned that a result of the surgery, nerves are disturbed, not cut, not severed, not hurt, but they're disturbed, and that disturbance results in a numbness. Mm-hmm. And there'll be a numbness in your face for some measured period of time. Mm-hmm. There'll be an effect on your shoulder and reaching above your head for some period of time. So I got my bench press as heavy as I could. I got my my kettlebell swings. I swung the kettlebell nice and hard. I worked on my mile times. I worked on my 5K times. I was running faster and lifting more after losing the weight than I had before. The day of the surgery, again, we're on this water diet. We're on this low sugar diet. The day of the surgery, I woke up. And again, I go back to this weird calm and peace that I just had and I continue to have. I ran 2 miles the day of the surgery. Mm-hmm. Ran 2 miles. Took the dog to doggy daycare because we needed to have her put away for the day, so we didn't have to be factoring in her safety and her concern and her care. Went to the hospital and ended up having a moment of prayer time with a woman who was being treated that I know of, who I've not seen in ages. Ran into it in the hospital lobby on my way up to get registered and checked in to have the surgery. I know for a fact that was a sidebar, that hallway thing. That still blows my mind that we did that. But what blew my mind was the surgery ends. It's a 3-hour procedure. 3 hours of anesthesia that's kind of crazy to be under for 3 hours. Do you know, because of the conditioning that we had reached in the dietary restrictions and the plan that we'd come up with, 4 hours after that surgery, I walked to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. I mean, it was a different kind of walk, right? But I walked to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
The second night, I had a drain on, and it was a drain. If you don't know anything about that, it's basically a bag that catches fluid. When you have surgery, the surgical area swells, and this procedure that they have now is they put a drain on that area, and it actually drains the fluid into a little bag. It catches it, and that reduces the swelling.
Yeah,
simple, but absolutely brilliant. When I know of the swelling that people have had as a result of surgeries. That was supposed to be on for maybe 4 or 5 days. That was on. That they removed that. The surgery was Thursday. I was in the hospital Thursday night, Friday night, went home Saturday because the drain had been removed. Mm-hmm. The night before, that last night in the hospital, that second night, I said, I got to get moving. Now, a lot of my friends have said, you got to calm down and you need to rest. And I said, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to put on my Apple Watch and I'm going to watch this here basketball game and I'm going to walk in place for 1 mile in my hospital room. And that is what I did. And it's fascinating to me that the next day the drain was done and they could remove it and I could go home.
Right.
And that's the same formula that I continue to try to follow. I'm limited in what I can do, just physically limited. But you have to work the walks, the movement, the stretching. What do we do to begin to restore this movement, to restore this strength, to restore the conditioning that was there before, and now, because that worked again, I'm about looking at the recovery, looking at post-surgery protocols. What can I do to help my neck? I don't want scar tissue to build up. I got a great. Okay, it depends on how old you are. For older people, you got to think like James Cagney, right? For younger people, you think The Wire, Omar Little, perhaps. It's like a great. One of the kids in my neighborhood said, "That is such a gnarly scar." And so I have a great scar. I'm going to always have that. I don't want scar tissue to build up. I want my neck. The numbness can exist for 6 to 12 months. It's a lot of things that I know for a fact are going to be prompted and affected by what I do to get my body back in shape. How do I get everything back online? How do I do what I do? How do I get it back? So those are things that we're going to move into now. And the next thing is preparing for whatever is next. If it's radiation, if there is some kind of nook that they found because things happen so much and so much changes, if there is some kind of chemo component to it, what can I do to be physically prepared as best as I can for those?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. That was a long dissertation right there.
But one of the things that Dr. Josie said, I would say, when we first saw him, and he saw you, he's like, "Oh, what's wrong with you? My gosh, what do you have here?" And he looked at you and he said, "But you're in such great shape." He said, "You're going to." He analyzed everything. Okay, here's what we have, but you're going to do well with this.
Mm-hmm. He did.
He said that.
Yeah.
And he said because you're in such good shape. My goodness. And so that was really to your credit also, because we know that if you're in better shape, I mean, things can come at any of us at any time. Who would have known? This guy, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, he's never smoked, never.
That's a question that was asked a lot.
People ask us all the time. I've known him since we were 17. At my 18th birthday party, I made you a picture of Kool-Aid because I made sangria for my guest, and he had a picture of grape Kool-Aid because, right. And he doesn't drink. I mean, maybe you get him a toast, maybe on New Year's Eve, maybe, but that's kind of about it. So, and he doesn't smoke. I mean, we don't do weed. Job
won't allow it.
so it's all those kinds of things. So. And I kind of wonder sometimes, you see it on his neck and you kind of think, okay, well, you got these lymph nodes now involved and all that. It's like, well, how would you have known earlier? And it seems so unfair. I will say, just seems so unfair. And I have to also say that that when you're going through something like this, when you have patient A over here, if you are the caretaker. It's nice to be able. It's nice for you to find a caretaker. Find somebody who can help you with all that, because I cannot imagine folks who have to go through something like this and don't have someone who's dealing with doctors, the insurance, disability, whatever, the hospitals, all those appointments. Because if you're in it, that has got to be such a huge weight So if
It's
you know,
unimaginable.
if you know someone who's going through this, try to, and they don't have a person like that, or just encourage them to, together to work together in these roles, and or offer and see what you might be able to do to help them to get through this.
I need to second that because it's I've not talked to one. I'm not lazy.
No, you're not.
I'm not a person sloth. That's never been associated with me. But I need to make this clear. I have not made one phone call. Not one phone call. I've had surgical procedures, meetings. I've had all kinds of stuff to happen in this little window of time. I've talked to no one. The doctor's secretaries, receptionists know her on a first name basis. I bet you they know her voice when she calls.
They're very good.
I have done the things that have happened to my body. The doctors are trying to understand, well, wait a minute. Whoa. My daughter's jumping in and doing the things that my daughter jumping in, doing what she did. Robin, the team worked like this. Courtney came up with the food plan. Robin cooked the food. I ate the food.
Yeah.
Everybody had to do their part. All I had to do was be yielding and submissive to instruction, which sounds a lot simpler than it is.
That's not easy.
That's not easy.
Yeah, it's not always easy.
And so we all did our parts. And I think in our discussions, in our research now that I'm feeling a little freer to look at this more, people do not recover from the surgery the way that I have recovered.
No, it's a big deal.
It's not.
Yeah,
I have right now my face. You can't. Most people don't notice it, but I notice it. My lip is a little bit numb still, so my face doesn't work all the way on my right side. My neck is still numb. There are places when I touch, I can't feel right now. Still, it's still numb. And I have, like I said, I have a scar that's never going to completely go away, but it's healing really nice. By the way, I'm shocked at how it's healing. If you really are the kind of person that's into this kind of thing, if you send me a note, I'll send you pictures if you really want to see that. It's been a fascinating process, but I think my real takeaways, and I wrote some takeaways, but I think the thing, first and foremost, I need you to understand, Robin said, it's unfair that it happened to you, and my instinct, and I still say the same thing, because of my faith and because of physically where I am, there's nobody better. There was nobody better suited for it. And the takeaways were the surveillance and monitoring. We always tell women to check their breast, but it's much bigger than that. It's much more surveillance involved in that. The checkups, everybody needs to be getting annual checkups. I actually have friends my age that don't get annual checkups. You got to get checkups because the medical community can fix everything. They can do everything if we give them a chance. Then it's proactive approach from the diet and everything that we did. And just the last thing I'll say is just the medical professionals in the DMV. Now, I don't know about any other place because this is where I live. This is where I always have lived. Oh, my gosh. The brilliance that we sit around. This stuff is not easy. Yeah. It's complicated. It's complex. And their minds are filtering through this like nothing.
Yeah, we're very blessed to have that in this area. And, I have to jump in just for a moment and give also kudos to our dentist, Dr. Wanda Garrett.
Yeah.
And Dr. Garrett, when he talked to Dr. Joshi said, or was it Dr. Smart? I can't remember which one it was now, who said, if you're thinking of having any dental work done, do it now because radiation, if you have to get that, could make that difficult later on. Dr. Garrett jumped in. She came in on a Saturday morning. She's not open on Saturdays. She came in on a Saturday morning. We met her at her office, and she came in and did work that he needed to have done. And without this, he probably would have managed it differently over the next couple of years or so. But he had to have some teeth extracted because, that could have been affected by doing it later. Could have been affected by the radiation. Yeah. So she jumped in. She did that. She has trays made, so if he has to get radiation, that can kind of preserve the other side of his face without, bothering the teeth on that side, protect him. Yeah. And so she's just been wonderful. I mean, all of our doctors, starting with Dr. Smart, like I said, when I think of her now, I think of her, with a helmet on, quarterback in this thing.
No joke.
Dr. Joshi is, he needs a Superman cape.
Yep.
And, other people who work with him, the other doctors he's referring us to, we haven't even met them yet, but we're hoping that they will be, really great to work with.
Based on her initial research, they're all stars.
Well, I did read their bios. I'm going to read your bio, so it better be a good one.
That's right. That's right.
But anyway, so that's kind of the story. The first phase of this. We'll let you know how it goes.
There's more to it. We got to do. We're going to do some cooking sessions. We want to bring Courtney in and actually make some of this food.
Yeah.
I'm going to be. I don't mind. I'm going to be a pain in the butt with this because I think where I am is probably where we all need to be. I would love to see folks eating cauliflower, chickpeas, drinking 100 and whatever ounces of water a day without having to go through this. I don't want anybody to go through this. I'm telling you, I have survived and I'm doing well. I do not want you to know anything that I'm talking about other than what I'm telling you. So from my heart, I'm telling you, as we move forward and we start to roll out more conversations about nutrition and about diet, and we do some of the things in the kitchen, we break it down. Let's talk. Let's look at this really. Some of you guys that are diabetics, I'm telling you, we can solve some of these problems. We can solve them. So I don't mean to be preachy, but I just think we stumbled onto something. We didn't go into this for that purpose, but reducing sugar kills a whole lot of ills. There's a lot of stuff that goes away if we can get these glucose levels down. It's a lot of stuff that'll get a whole lot better in people's lives. And so, I mean, that's why has God allowed me to function like this and things didn't get worse and all that? I don't know. All I know is what I'm going to do is I'm going to act like it's because of this, and that's what we're going to do moving forward. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing I will say, too, is that early detection is like your best friend. And you know what? I know a lot of people are afraid of going to a doctor. I know why you haven't been, because you might be afraid of going.
Yep.
You don't want to hear the bad news.
It's fair.
But the whole thing is there's your heart and your mind, okay? So let the mind take over a little bit of that fear and go, because get a friend, get a buddy. I've always got a buddy going to the doctor. We got physicals the same day.
That's right.
But it's, whatever they find, if there's something to be found, the earlier they find it, the better.
Absolutely.
So just keep that in mind and just move forward. Just keep one foot before the other and go.
All right.
Okay, that's it for today, right?
Woo. That's it for today.
That was a heavy load, wasn't it?
Go take a nap.
But yes, go take a nap.
That's not going to happen.
And I'm going to go cook. But really, we appreciate you being here with us today. Hope you subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube video.
A lot of good information coming.
And please give us a like as well. And we appreciate you.
All right.
So thank you so much.
And thank you.
I'm so glad you're
still. Amen to that. Y'all take care.
All right.
Officially Finna thanks you for joining us.
Please subscribe and hit that like button.